Get ready to amplify your light and shine bright because it's about to get real. Join Spencer Jones, the Prince of Positivity, and get energized with this episode of the Jones and Force Show. Let's go! Hey, Energizers! Welcome to another episode of the Jones and Force Show. And whoo-wee, you are in for a treat today. We have another high energy guest here, dropping some amazing nuggets, some amazing knowledge of wisdom with all of you to help you live your life to the max. Now, I've gotten to know him just a little bit over the last month or two. A mutual friend introduced us and we started chatting a little bit via email. And we're like, this guy's awesome. I need to have him on the show and share his energy, his light with all of you. And I'm excited to get to know him more and to have him share his light with all of you. So without further ado, please help me welcome the awesome, the energetic Joe Templin. Joe, thank you for being here. Oh, he's shaking his hands up in the air. If you can't see, he's dancing. He's ready to go. It's a party.
Oh, yeah. Let's have some fun.
Love it, Joe. Thank you so much for being on. I mean, I've got to know you a little bit here through our past communications, but why don't you share more about yourself with me and the audience so we get to know the real Joe Templin? What brought you to this point here and now?
What brought me here is the best described as a long, strange journey by the Doors, because I have a very eclectic background. And I say that I'm on a polymath as opposed to a Renaissance man, because I can't draw a straight line even with a ruler. I do not get those skills. But I am a human Kaizen expert. I basically help make people and organizations better. And if you look at my background, as I was talking about being really eclectic, let's see. At 8 years old, I told my parents I wanted to learn everything there was to know. So my mom's like, there's the encyclopedias, go get reading. So I did. I read them all by the time I was 10. At 10 years old, I died. I got better, obviously.
Obviously.
I thought. Got better. And that's part of the reason why, even to this day, as my friends say, I burn the candle at both ends and in the middle with a flamethrower. Because we all have the same 86,400 seconds or 1,440 minutes per day, and I'm going to utilize every single one of them.
Nice. I love that. So some amazing experience of you igniting, of wanting to learn and grow yourself, and then using that to spread it and help other people, helping their companies, helping businesses and organizations just be at their best so everybody can shine. I think that's awesome. Now, you said one interesting thing, and I'm sure you've been asked this before. You said you died at a young age. Obviously, you recovered. Talk to me about that. What was that experience like? What happened? And what realizations did you have?
So I was severely asthmatic as a child. And so, people who tell me now, oh, I can't do that. I can't run a marathon. I can't get in shape. And, I throw the BS flag on that because, Johnny Weissmuller was a big inspiration for me. People who don't know, Johnny Weissmuller was severely asthmatic as a kid, started swimming, won multiple Olympic gold medals, and then became Tarzan in the early Tarzan movies. So, Teddy Roosevelt was severely asthmatic, and his doctor prescribed whiskey and cigars. My doctor did not prescribe that for me. But so, here I am, 10 years old, I'm dead. I, see the bright lights, I'm floating on up, big, deep voice, not yet in time. I come on back into my body, can't breathe again. And, but from there, I started pushing myself a little bit physically. Eventually, I got my black belt in Taekwondo. I'm a former world champion. I started running to cross training for volleyball. I was a junior Olympic volleyball player in high school. Played in college. I started seriously running after I turned 40. I've done, I think, 20 Ragnars, which are 200-ish mile team relay races. And in 2021, I did not one, but 2 ultra marathons. Wow. I was training for one last year, but right around this time, I ended up breaking my leg. So I didn't do any ultras last year, but I'm intending to do the 100-mile hamster wheel in November.
Wow. Go. You are on fire, just going through everything and taking that experience of saying, you know what, it wasn't my time then. What am I going to do now? This isn't going to define me. This isn't going to stop me. I'm going to keep going. You had that hurdle, that symptom that a lot of people would, that challenge that people would say, oh, I can't do this. This is
a lot
something
of people
that's
use
stopping me.
Something like that as an excuse.
Yes.
And, they succumb to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. But really, if you look, there's a significant subsection of the population that has PTG. What Dombrowski talked about is post-traumatic growth. So they use that as the fuel to get better. The classic example is Michael Jordan getting cut from his high school basketball team, right? And he used that as fuel to practice and improve. And even in his Hall of Fame induction ceremony, he called out the guy who took his spot on the high school team. So he was still fired up. Now that's a little bit of extreme, but I mean, he's worth close to $1 billion, so it obviously worked for him.
Right. So you're using the traumatic moments in our life, right? The hardships, the struggles, the moments we face. It could be a rock bottom at points, and then using that as your launching point to keep going forward and saying, you know what, that's not going to define me. Instead, I'm going to use that to empower me and fuel me as I go forward with all these things.
Exactly. And when you hit rock bottom, that is when you can build a solid foundation, because you are literally down to the bedrock. You are on the strongest substance around. And from there, you can build something that is going to reach epic heights and be sustaining and lasting. And that's one of the things that, there's a saying, I think it was from Nietzsche that, or maybe it was Jung, no tree can reach to heaven unless its roots reach to hell. So too many people want to avoid that pain. They want to, cover it up or ignore it or discount it, as opposed to sitting there, embracing it, studying it, understanding it, and integrating it into them, which is one of the things that Jung talks about with the shadow integration work. So if it becomes part of you, it makes you that much more powerful. And this is one of the things where we love anti-heroes in some capacity. And the man who's walked in darkness appreciates light more than anybody else.
So true.
Oh, that's a good phrase. I should write that down.
You should write that down. That is amazing. And you're right. We need both in our life. At least I feel, right? If it was all just one, well, we're missing out on so much. If it was just all lights and beauty and amazing things, cool, but we're not going to appreciate them nearly as much as if, okay, we go through those struggles, those hardships, that darkness, right? It's that yin and yang effect. It's that light and darkness. We need both to really appreciate the other one. We appreciate the hard moments, the difficulties, the darkness, because we've had that light. We've had those summits, those amazing times. That's why we appreciate the valleys, but we appreciate those summits, those amazing moments, because we've been through the valley. We've been through that darkness.
That's why when you cross the line of a race, it feels so incredible. When you get that medal that you earn, or that shower beer after working all day long, and you're just exhausted and sweaty and gross, and you're standing in the shower, and the dirt and grime is coming off you, and you take that step, and you're like, oh.
Right? It's that amazing feeling of relief of you pushed yourself to do something, and then you get to savor that and enjoy it. So I'm curious, because you're very high energy. You've done all these amazing things, and I've done a half Ironman, I've done a Ragnar, I've run half marathons.
Which Ragnar did you do?
I did the Madison to Chicago one.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
one of my goals is I'm going to become a Ragnar immortal at some point. So I'm trying to do that this year. So I'm looking at which races I can do and how I can fly in and speak to organizations like the day before, then go and run, and then come on back.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I love it. Love it. Love it. And so, I've done some of those things, not near the extent you have or the distances you have. So I applaud you for that. I'm amazed. And I don't know how you do it. So incredible.
Brain damage.
But I'm curious, because it's just go so much. And I know how that training is for those things, and just your energy. And you said even earlier, you're burning the candle, not just at one end, but at both ends and in the middle. That I'm afraid you're going to lead to burnout. How do you avoid burnout, or have you had it before? How do you?
Oh, I've had it before. We've all had it. In fact, I'm sort of close to getting there now. So I'm going to actually force myself to take some time off this weekend. Okay. So, one thing is recognizing that in yourself. Another thing is having friends that will tell you, hey, dude, you're pushing too hard. As my friend Athena always reminds me, I'm no good to anybody if I'm broken. So she knows me well enough that if she sees the signs of it, she'll, throw the red flag at me. And so having people in your life who can recognize when you're getting close to that level, that are willing to interfere, because that's what a friend does. A friend, is ready to tell you no, to tell you stop, whether it's you're pushing yourself too hard at work, or you're pushing yourself too hard in your play, or you're going to do something that's going to hurt yourself, like if somebody's got an addictive personality or is getting close to having an affair or stuff like that. So a good friend will tell you no. That's one critical thing. So have friends who will tell you no.
I love it. And
Other thing is that we've got two sorts of stress, really. We've got distress, stuff that breaks you down, and eustress, the sort of thing that gets you all excited. So like I go and I run Ragnar's as my release from work. It's completely different components of your being that you're using. Because I mean, I write, I speak, I teach, I do analysis work, all that sort of stuff. So that's what I'm doing in terms of my work capacity. Going out and running long distances lets my mind wander. Doing Taekwondo allows me to have immense focus. So I'm focusing on the situation as opposed to analyzing or trying to synthesize things. So it actually is very relaxing to do those very intense things for a while. So one of the things that I tell people is that your relaxation should balance what you do for work. So if you work really hard physically, like you're a laborer or something like that, and you're working 9-10 hours a day like that, you need something that stresses your mind. If you're an intellectual professional, you wear a tie for a living like I do, and you're spending 12, 14, 15 hours a day like I do on that, you need an hour of intense physical activity to counterbalance it.
Amazing. Two things to pull and extract to make sure we reiterate for people to catch is to have a group of friends, people, your inner circle who can call you out on your BS, call you out when you're struggling, and to be there not so much it's not there to make fun of you or hurt you. It's there to watch out for you, say, hey, you're pushing too hard, you're doing this, or this is damaging. I see this. Let's raise your awareness to it and see what you need to do, if anything, to adjust or change that. So having your inner circle is huge, and having people love and trust in there so they can call you out and have unpleasant conversations. And the second thing is, I love it, the different stresses we have in our life, right? So we can balance it out by, okay, I'm working really hard and I'm physically exhausted from, or mentally exhausted, let's say, like working in an office wearing the tie and doing that, or you're mentally going all day, to take that break and go for a run, do something physically exhausting. I have a ninja course in my backyard. That's my relief. It's not
there you go.
Right? It's my release of, okay, I get to have fun. I get to have some fun physically playing on that thing. I go for a run. I let my mind wander. I'm able to fill my cup, right? Because we're no good if our cup's empty. So you use those different things to fill your cup. So we talked about the physical things, mental being at work and physical working out, but how can we decide or figure out what fills our cup? What strategies or thoughts do you have of how can we uncover that?
So an analogy that I've used in the past is that, when you're in high school and college and up to, about 25 years old, is really the smorgasbord of life. Everything's there. You go to college and there's 15 different martial arts classes that you can take. And there's different drumming classes, like 15 different types of drumming classes and stuff like that. So you get to explore all this stuff. And the purpose of that time period when you're about 15 to about 25 is to just explore everything, to see if you like it or not. The analogy that I use is, do you like olives?
I don't, sadly.
Okay, but you know that. How do you know that?
I tried olives once, or more than once, and realized I didn't like them.
Okay, and that's exactly it. You have to, don't knock it until you try it. Yep. From when we were kids, eating can be fun. You need to check it out. You need to take a look at it. You don't have to actually participate if it's something that's well beyond your comfort zone, but you need to at least look at it and say, nope, not for me, or that seems interesting. Mm-hmm. And as you're exploring like this, you start figuring things out. And from your early 20s to about your mid 30s is when you're figuring it out professionally. So you start figuring yourself out personally. You're starting building these skill sets. You're starting to explore, build different resources, different careers. I've got friends who are engineers. They're like, one guy's a chief engineer for a major company. He's like, I am never going into management. One, because I don't like wearing a tie. Two, because I don't like the responsibilities of dealing with people, and I don't want to have the P&L responsibilities, profit and loss. But really a brilliant engineer. So he can he's the chief, and so he can advise and mentor and teach people and have insight and input, but he doesn't want to be in the executive suite like some of my other friends want to.
Mm.
And so you determine that in your up to the point where you're like 30, 35-ish. And then that next stage is when you're executing, whether it's building your own company, whether it's, climbing the corporate ladder, if that's appropriate for you. If it's, your side gig, that's whether a charity or a for-profit company that you're building that eventually is going to take over your life. That's the stage when you're executing on the things that you have learned and assembled in the earlier parts.
Hey, Energizer, I want to cut in here really quick before you start this episode of the Jones and Four Show to let you know something really, really cool. And that is, we launched another podcast. That's right, we launched another podcast called, you ready? The Daily Energize. That's right, The Daily Energize is available on all streaming platforms, right? So however you like your podcast, go find us. What is the Daily Energize? It is your daily jolt of positivity, of energy, where I offer you tips, tricks, strategies, stories to help you crush your day. All the shows are roughly 5 to 10 minutes long, right? So on your commute to work or in your lunchtime, whenever you want, you could pop it in, listen to it, get a little jolt of energy so you can keep crushing your day. Again, it's called The Daily Energize, and I would love it, absolutely love it and appreciate it if you can subscribe. And heck, share it out with your friends. Give them a little jolt of energy. All right, on to today's episode. So let me ask this, because I know we have a lot of amazing energizers here who are later in their life, right? They're not, some are in their 20s and 30s, but many are 40s and over. And they're realizing, oh my God, I've been living this life. I've been working this job or doing this, and it is not fulfilling me anymore. It might have for some time, or I needed to do because I was required to, or it paid the bills. But now, I need a change. I need something else. Is it too late to go back and okay, let's experiment with these?
Too late. I mean, Colonel Sanders founded KFC when he was like 63 or something. Okay, right. Don't give me that.
Okay, so, I was just curious because you mentioned those years. I'm like, okay, well, but if I'm 26, does that mean I'm screwed? I can't do that? Or if I'm 50,
you can still do it, but it's hard to explore and experiment and learn when you got little kids. Okay. There are constraints. I love my kids, but there were sacrifices there. So it is basically exploration, clarification, and then execution. I should write that down because I just made that.
I like those. Yeah, those three areas, and we could revisit it, but it can be trickier once we are older and have those have other responsibilities. And I totally see that and agree. But so my question is,
so I have 3 kids, by the way, Spencer. So, and 2 of my kids are special needs. So that places constraints on what I can do and can't do in terms of my time. And so it also influences how I do things. So when I'm with my kids, I am with my kids. Like the phone is turned off, or, I am completely and totally focused on them because they deserve that. So, for a while, I was getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do work before I had to get the kids up to get ready for school. In the pre-COVID world when things were like that. I had to get my kids to 3 different activities every single day in different places. And my ex-wife actually traveled for a living, so she was literally not around for 5 years, basically. Wow. So this was solo parenting, doing all this with my kids, trying to maintain my physical health, my mental health, trying to build my business, all simultaneously. So one of the big things is you learn to multitask wherever possible. So my kids will be sitting there doing homework. I'm supervising the homework. I'm prepping dinner. They're seeing me prep dinner, so they're learning something. And as they got older, they started helping prepare dinner because this is one of the most important skills that they can have. And we'd be either listening to music or a podcast, or I'd have an audiobook going in my headset while I was doing that because they didn't need my full attention at that point.
Right.
So multitasking like that, I'll go out and I'll run. I actually prepared for my first marathon while I was getting ready for the CFP exam. I'd show up at the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd jump on the treadmill. I'd listen to tax code on my headset. And so that way I can double dip. You're driving. That's for the most part dead time. But how do you turn it into being productive? You listen to a podcast. You call clients. You do something like that. So of that 1,440 minutes per day, I try and only waste no more than 40 minutes of it.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible, and I totally agree, and that's what got me really launching into my success and into feeling fulfilled is utilizing a lot of that dead time. Where when I was teaching, right, I was middle school high school choir director for 9 years. When I was driving the half-hour commute to work each one way, I would listen to audiobooks, and then it started becoming podcasts. And I still do that when I mow the lawn, when I go for a run. Now, I will say that it's amazing to double dip and to multitask to a degree, because multitasking, there's debate if you can do that or not, but within these regards, like I'm driving and listening, okay,
Right.
that we could do that. That's great, but there's also something to be said for that silence. Like I've learned to go out and run
Absolutely.
without music, without podcasts, without audiobooks, and just be there in the present moment, listening to my body, listening to the sounds, enjoying and savoring nature.
And
And
one of the things that you do is you need to learn to tell the difference between things that are fractional work and things that are focused work. So that fractional work is like I'm cooking dinner, I'm listening to an audiobook, and I'm supervising kids doing stuff. The focused work or deep work, my phone is turned off. I'm sitting there, I'm writing for 30 minutes at a pop. I'm just completely focused on that and nothing else is going on. Like this, we're having this conversation. You are the most important thing in the world to me right now. My phone's in my pocket and is on do not disturb in airplane mode. So I don't care who's reaching out to me. The world's not going to end in the next 30 minutes. And if it does, oh, well, one of the last messages is going to be this podcast. So being able to completely and totally focus at times and also be that diverse at times. And you need to learn which is which and what works best for you. As you can probably tell, I'm ADHD, if it wasn't obvious to the most casual observers on 15th Street. So I have literally 22 browser tabs open, circus music going on, the whole 9 yards when I'm doing that. But what I will also completely turn off the internet and go into a room with nothing in there other than my computer and myself, or a pad of paper and myself, and focus for 20, 30 minutes at times. And this capability of shifting between the two as appropriate is critical, and finding what resonates with you, what you are truly awesome at, where your ikigai is, that allows you to then be able to do that at the most possible times, or for the greatest possible fraction of your day. That is where you're going to find ultimately joy.
Holy cow. I love this. And there's so many, I'm just recapping the whole conversation that we've had in our head and the different points we've touched on. And I mean, the latest one of being fractional time or focus time. And I have suggest and invite all of our energizers, everyone listening, that you take some time and just look at your day, reflect on the day and see, okay, what part of my day can I be fractional where I could do, driving and listening to an audiobook, or doing those types of two things at once. And then what times do you need to be focused? And then going forward, see what times can you try being focused for this time. See what that does. What does that feel like? Try being fractional. What does that do? What does that feel like? And then adjust and play around with it as you go through the day. And then you can have your accountability buddies, your friends, your inner circle help you with that. Say, hey, you were doing, and you can tell them like, hey, I'm doing this. Can you just, give me a little review, or tell me your thoughts on how I was over this day or week or whatever you're experimenting with, so that now you're getting feedback from friends who you trust and you love, that can then help you shape what you're doing now, which is going to shape your future. I mean, that's freaking amazing. Plus, then you're talking about the stresses of, okay, I need this to de-stress myself, and these are energizing me, but de-stressing me in another way. Like it's freaking amazing.
And also there's different things you can do to like set up the next step. So I'm a big fan of James Clear habit stack. And so when I was writing my book, my habit stack was get on up, brain dump out whatever was in my head, because sleeping, you're always processing stuff. Then I would go and do my morning reading. At that point, it was Daily Stoic, and I was doing a couple other things. So I'd read for like 5-10 minutes. Then I'd go for a 20-minute run. Then I'd come back and I would sit down and I would write. I'd write 2 days worth of the book, 2 pages essentially, because when you run, when you do martial arts, when you work out like that, it literally lights up your entire brain. So for the next 30-ish minutes, you are incredibly productive. So I set that up, and I'm a morning person, always have been. So I would do that, and then I would just sit down and hammer that. No music, nothing. Listening to the birds or just have the low lights on, drink my coffee, hammer it. Then when I was done with that, I would go and do my Taekwondo for a half hour.
Nice.
I'd listen to like heavy metal, or I'd listen to a podcast or what have you during it. Then I would come on up, and because I was fully recharged again, I'd sit down and I'd write until I was done. Could be 10 minutes, could be 35 minutes. Then I'd get ready, shower up, and come down to the office and get about going on my day. But that's the way I was able to write a 700+ page book in 6 months.
Wow, that's incredible. And to have that routine, I'm a big James Clear habit stacking fan as well. And I suggest everyone stack their habits. That's what I do for my morning routine. I started with one thing, and then we started stacking it and making it really efficient and beneficial for me, not just at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, but at the end of the day and other parts to stack those habits. So huge suggestion, great suggestion. I invite everyone to check out that book, James Clear, creating, oh my gosh, was it
Atomic Habits?
Atomic Habits. I didn't think of it. So this has been so amazing, and I feel we could keep talking and chatting and going on, but there was so much here. I think it would almost be overwhelming. So let me recap it real quick. Then I have one last question, and tell me if I missed anything. So we talked about having an inner circle, people who are there to support you and help you on your journey, call you out if you're burning the candle at both ends, right? And to help you manage that. We talked about the different stressors in our life, the stressors that are draining you, and the stressors that balance you and fill you up, right? Like if you're running, for example, working out, that could fill you up. Meditation can fill you up, but it can also drain you depending on where you are. So seeing and looking into your life and go, okay, this is helping me, this is serving me, this isn't. How can I balance it out and experiment? Again, relying on that network of friends to help you. We also discussed habit stacking. We discussed that.
Yep.
Why is my mind going blank? We just talked
Don't
about.
forget, we also spent some time talking about the exploration, clarification, and execution components, where you're learning lots of different things. So that could be exploring a new career. That could be, checking out if you like a particular martial art or different type of music or whatever. So you're exploring it, and you either say, yeah, that's for me, or no, it's not. And yeah, for me, maybe you go a little bit further down the rabbit hole, and everything you've done previously in your life is part of your mental superstructure already. So you're trying to take this new stuff, and you need to clarify it and integrate it into who and what you are already. And then you can have execution, whether it's, writing a new blog, whether it's working on a book, whether it's a new project, a new piece of art, an entire new career, So taking these three components where you explore, you clarify based on where you are previously, and then you execute. And having that model will allow you to get into essentially that human Kaizen of continuous human improvement.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I knew I was missing one major thing, and that was it. And that is huge to have that chance. And not only, you can relate it to years in our life, but then you could come to that other times in your life and see what works, figuring out that balance with obligations and things that you need to. But I love that, to explore, to clarify, to execute, to take action on it. That's amazing. So thank you for sharing that. The last, two questions I guess that I have is, one, if you had just one tip to help people live their lives to the max, what would that be?
Choose excellence as opposed to convenience.
Ooh, I like that. Choose excellence instead of convenience. It's so easy to do the convenient thing at times, isn't it? And
yeah, Ryan Holiday talked about it in the front of Courage is Calling. He used the example of my favorite myth about Hercules, where he's at the split in the path. And one side is the beautiful goddess who promises him a life of ease and, anything they could want on earth. And after he dies, within 2 generations, his name's forgotten. Then there's the other path with the goddess all clad in armor and blood, and she's promising him pain and suffering and the 12 labors and trial. And if he can survive, then he would take his place on Olympus with the other immortals. And we are faced with that choice constantly. We make someplace between 10 and 15,000 micro decisions every day. If you consistently choose to do the thing that's harder, you're going to get better. You're going to get better at getting better, and you're going to have a much better life overall. Because if you choose what's convenient or easy, you eat the donut. I love donuts, by the way. You eat the donut as opposed to eating healthy. You smoke the cigarette instead of not. You sit on the couch eating Cheetos, watching the Kardashians instead of going for the run. You play video games instead of doing your homework. You avoid the difficult conversation with your significant other. Eventually you get divorced. So you can do the easy thing, which feels good in the moment, but doesn't lead you to a better place. Or you can do the harder thing in the moment, which leads to a much better outcome.
Choosing excellence. I love it. Love it. This has been absolutely amazing and energizing to me. And I
had
would
a second question, by the way.
Oh, okay. Go. Oh, the second question is this, and that is, how can people connect with you and work with you? Because they felt your energy, your wisdom, and all of that amazing stuff. How can they connect and get to know you better and potentially work with you?
So I've actually got a lot of really cool free resources out there. I'm on TikTok. Follow me on TikTok. No, I don't dance. That's JRRT1Ring. And every single morning I put up a quote and a little bit of discussion. There's the free YouTube channel, which is at EDE with Joe. That's at EDE for Everyday Excellence with Joe. That's me. So that's up there every single day. If they go to my website, which is everyday-excellence.com, every single day there's a new blog post. All the podcasts go up there. So this will eventually live up there, Spencer. There's also my podcast, Human Kaizen Podcast. And they can sign up for my newsletter. They can read my books. And I got a couple of training programs there too. So everyday-excellence.com.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And if you missed it for whatever reason, you can grab the show notes and get all those links in the show notes at spencermjones.com/Jones4Show. And this has been stellar. Oh my gosh, Joe, thank you so much for all the wisdom, all the energy. And I have so many things to reflect and review over at this past half-hour discussion. And I can't wait to keep our conversation going for you and I and see where this relationship goes. Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to it, my friend. Be excellent and grow today.
I love it. We're going to leave you with that, Energizers. Have an awesome day. Be excellent. And we will catch you later.